Welcome to this episode of Chatting with Staxx. I'm your host, Bill Staxx, and today I got Luke GTV. He's going to explain what brought him to prison and his backstory to that. What's good, man? How you doing?
Hey, what's good, brother? Tried to grab a stand, but didn't end up working out, but not too much.
So, you were on Blood on the Razor Wire. Shout out to Chad, man. And
Good dude.
yeah,
Solid ass white
definitely.
boy.
Hell yeah. So,
Yep.
you told your story over there, so you want to tell your story over here so my people can hear it. And
Oh,
so you want to start off, tell the people your name and where you're from?
yeah, sure, man. My name's Luke G. I was born in Sacramento, California, but I didn't live there for very long. I grew up in Minnesota. Primarily when I was growing up, like as a young kid and in high school. I grew up in a town called Minnetonka, Minnesota. Now,
I've been
you've
there.
probably heard about it from like Dave Chappelle, the skit where he says, "Cleanse yourself in the waters of Lake Minnetonka." Prince lived very close to the area I was from. My parents were divorced, so my mom lived in the city of Minneapolis.
Mhm.
I was really into skateboarding as a young kid, so I kind of got the best of both worlds. I hung out with a lot of kids from the inner city, but I was from Minnetonka. So, I knew about the streets growing up and stuff like that, but I was from an upper middle class family, and I was not living like that. Um, I'd say basically where crime and stuff like that kind of came into my life was high school. So you'd think in a upper middle class area that it'd be no drugs, no people weren't selling drugs. But for whatever reason, like I kid you not, I knew kids whose parents were like multi millionaires and they were selling like hella weed, like not just like picking up pounds, like they were picking up like 20 packs, 30 packs at a time. You remember back then was the mid 2000s. There was a lot of BC buds coming from Canada. I don't know if you
Yeah, yeah.
remember that
Yeah, I
era.
do. Yeah, I
I'm
do.
32. I look a lot younger than I am, but I'm 32. So I was getting a lot of those BC buds in high school. Well, let me rewind that. So how I started selling weed was my dad, he's an old hippie. He followed the Grateful Dead in the 80s and early 90s. He's, allegedly sold a lot of LSD, weed, stuff like that. So growing up, he was always open with the fact that he smoked weed. And I didn't start smoking until I was 15. But basically all my friends started smoking, so I saw the value in it. So basically I started pinching buds from dad at a young age, and I saved up enough money where I could go through my own dude. So anyways, that happens. High school goes on, drinking, smoking, selling bud, you know, not nothing too crazy, pretty PG-13 as far as the drug world goes. And then I so a friend of mine's brother, also a hippie, he took this bike trip out to California. It was like some spiritual trip, but the goal was to find a grower. And he literally took a bicycle all the way from Minnesota all the way to Northern California, like Humboldt County. If you know about Humboldt County, it's like the most notorious place where all the
Murder
illegal
Mountain.
grows. Murder Mountain, yep,
Yeah.
exactly, yep. So he goes out there, he gets the plug and comes back. So basically, back then, 2011, we're talking 2009, 2010, 2011, you could still make a lot of money selling weed back then because, pounds were still going for 4,000 sometimes to certain people, 3,500, 4,000. I mean, those prices are just not existent today. But so anyways, I start selling a lot of weed, and also heroin becomes big in the picture too. A lot of the people I was selling drugs with, this is right around the opioid epidemic. People were getting into oxys. That's kind of how I started. I started on the oxy 80s.
Did you
But I
start
got
doing them or were you just selling them?
no. At this point, I was just selling a lot of weed because I was making, like I said, I mean, I wasn't like a kingpin by any means, but I was picking up like 5 packs, 10 packs at a time. And, you know, I was making anywhere from 1,000 to 2,000 off every pound. So I was making good money. I was making like, you know, 4,000 a week sometimes, which doesn't sound like crazy money, but to a 19, 20-year-old kid, it is. And so I started experimenting with these opiates, right?
Yeah.
Well,
We got a crackle
anyways,
in your voice, man.
what'd you say?
There's a crackle in your voice. I don't know if there's a short or something. It sounds like a short.
It's like
When
a
you,
crack. Did it just start?
yeah, it just started.
Can you hear? How about now?
Every time you talk, I can hear it goes.
Okay, I'm gonna try going upstairs. I apologize about that.
Or if you go out and come back in, it'll reboot it.
Okay, sorry about that, man. Can you edit
It's all right.
this? Okay.
All right, he'll be right back. But he has a pretty crazy story. His prison experience, he's gonna explain some of that. So he'll be right back in 1 second. Make sure you guys hit the like, subscribe, and notification bell. Hit the like button, people. I want to give a shout out to Big Lance, man, for having the courage to tell everybody what he was going through. And now he's off to rehab, man. I wish him nothing but the best. Get your stuff together, man. And I know you're gonna do big things in the future, Lance. David, what's good, man? Billy Buffalo, Billy, what's good? How you doing? Yeah, I can see you, man. Yeah, I didn't block you. I don't block people unless they're really disrespectful. You know what I'm saying? All right, he's back. Let's get back into it. All right, we're good.
All right, all right. How's my voice now?
Perfect.
Perfect. Okay. So what ends up happening? So we're doing this. I'm making hands over fist money. My value for a dollar is pretty much non-existent because like the money's just flowing in like to me like it was nobody's business. But anyways, we're at a friend of mine's house. His parent. This is in South Minneapolis, but this is the wealthy part of South Minneapolis. This was a multi-million-dollar house we were at. His mom was his mom was a family lawyer, and his dad was a psychologist and actually his psychologist's office was in like the side of the house. Like he had his own little parking lot, like his own business. So his parents are out of town for like 3 months, you know, during this whole thing. And so I'm getting the weed from this dude, and my buddy, I'm fronting him weed that I'm getting from this dude. So my plug comes over to his house. He notices the parents are gone, and he sees an opportunity to get it, you know, shipped there. And he says, "Hey, would you guys, you know, feel comfortable getting, something sent here?" You know, and he offered us X amount of dollars, and I actually was like more skeptical about it than he was. Like he was more, and you know, he'll probably tell a different story, but that's really just what it was. I was like, "Are you sure, dude?" And he's like, "Yeah, I want to do it." So, anyways, we set the date or whatever. And I think it was like a week, maybe a week and a half goes by, and then the day comes for the package to come. You know, and at this point, I had no experience with the USPS or drugs or getting stuff mailed or any of that kind of stuff. So the day comes, obviously we're all a little bit nervous, as you should be.
And it's
And
illegal, man. If you get caught doing this, it's a federal offense. Don't
federal
do it,
offense.
people. Don't
Yeah,
do it.
seriously, you guys. And you'll see why I got lucky later, but um so basically, the package is supposed to get there at 12:30 p.m. I mean, we're tracking it. We got the tracking number. We're probably looking at it every fucking 2 minutes, you know, seeing where it is en route and blah blah blah, all that good stuff. And I can't remember. I think there might have even been some weird thing with the tracking, like that was off. That could have been a red flag. But I was in the back deck smoking cigarettes, just chain smoking, pacing back and forth, and I kept seeing this red Explorer go back and forth, back and forth. That was red flag number one. And I'm just, but we're in it. We're fully committed at this point. So,
Yeah.
all of a sudden it's like 1:05, 1:10. The package is like 40 minutes late. That's red flag number two. And I think it was like 45 minutes later, something like that, the package finally shows up. We get it, and there's a big hole in it. And right away, my plug is like freaking out. He's like, they speared it, da 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 da. I don't know what he's even talking about when he says speared it, but what's spearing it is if the person who's sending you the weed from out west is smart, they put it in vacuum sealed bags, usually double or triple vacuum sealed. They wash it, they make it dog proof so you cannot smell it, and then they put it in a plastic bin. Well, what they did was they brought the drug dogs. They bring the drug dogs, and if it doesn't detect, they'll spear it, and it'll go through, and then it'll penetrate the vacuum seal bags. Then they'll bring the drug dogs back to see if they indicated. Anyways,
Wow.
he grabs his Subaru WRX California plates. It's stuck out like a sore thumb. He pulls into the alley. He throws the package in there, and I don't know what's going on. Like, I'm not convinced that the cops are fully coming yet. So I left a bunch of stuff at the house. So did my buddy, my co-defendant, I should say. And so we get in the car, and we're pulling out of this alley, and we bust a left. As we take a left, we look right, and it's like a long stretch. It's called Lyndale Avenue, 50th and Lyndale. And there's like a hill, and then it goes down. And over that hill, we just see a convoy of Hennepin County Sheriff vehicles. And I think there was some other like dark colored ones, which ended up being West Metro Task Force. We found out later. But so we bust a left, and luckily the dude had a stick shift. And I mean, a Subaru WRX is a fast car. So we're just, get the hell out of there. We're all like, holy shit, dude, we got away by a, like, it was the most adrenaline packed moment probably of my life. Cause like, when does that ever happen? You leave the house, you look right, and you see him coming, and you actually get away. Like, that happens almost, I don't think, in the history of ever. So, I mean, anyways, so we pull off somewhere. The dude like breaks us off some money for the stuff we lost at the house. We end up getting a call from my friend's parents. They're livid. They're like so extremely mad because
Are they home at this point?
no, they're out of town. This happened all
they're
in the same day. Well, this all happened all in the same week. They were out of town for 3 months. So they get a call, obviously, from the Hennepin County Sheriffs or whoever. They kick the door in. You know, there's some damage to the house, whatever. That wasn't the issue. The issue was this guy is a psychologist that works from that house. These are family friends of mine. They're friends with my parents. I've been friends with this kid since I was
crackling starting again, man.
Is it really?
Yeah, every time you talk, it's like.
Yeah, I know. Something's up with this freaking phone, man.
It does the same thing to Ramundi, man.
I'm sorry, dude. Is it really bad?
Yeah, like bad. But if you go back and come back, it just goes away. And then it'll come back. It'll come back in like 10 minutes.
We'll just have to chop it up then, I guess.
The best we can do. I mean, you guys can hear his voice crackling when he talks, right? You guys don't want to watch it like that. I know you don't. So we'll just wait for him to come right back. If you guys didn't know, he has a YouTube channel, and the link is in the description of this video. He has 750 subscribers. Let's help him get to 1,000. So go to the link in the description, hit the link, and subscribe to his channel. He's going to be telling prison stories, all kinds of different things. So make sure you subscribe to Luke G TV. Now he'll be back here in 1 second, and we'll get right back into it. What's good with everyone? What's up, David? All right, we're back. All right, let's get into it.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
It's all good. Don't worry about it. It's probably the software or something. So you guys get away. What happens next?
So, anyways, like I said, he breaks me off some bread. He didn't break my buddy off any bread, which was kind of messed up. But he breaks me off like, I forget what it was. It was like, I think he broke me off like 11 bands or something, because I had like close to 5 at the house at the time, which wasn't even Well, yeah, he didn't give me like fully what it was probably worth, but whatever. So he breaks me out. I'm just honestly happy because that was like I had just grabbed, so that was like my whole bankroll at the
Yeah,
time. You know what I mean?
you could have been dry, right? All your money gone,
Right,
everything gone.
right. And I'm already kind of knowing in the back of my head that like this is probably gonna be the last time I talk to this dude because like anything with police, he ain't gonna want to deal with me anymore because he, for all he knows, I could be working with him. You know?
Yeah.
So I think in the sense he probably did it out of fear, like don't snitch on me. I don't even know if you're a snitch, if you're working with those cops. So whatever. My buddy's freaking out, obviously, because of his parents. Parents completely hate me. Still don't talk to him to this day. Like this is a lifelong friend. Completely ruined our friendship. He threw me under the bus, kind of, which I understand. I probably would have done the same thing too to save face. But that's neither here nor there. So basically, fast forward, my heroin addiction just keeps getting worse and worse and worse. I never found a plug that I could make that kind of money with again. So my heroin addiction keeps increasing, but my money isn't getting much,
What are you
isn't
doing to support your habit at this point?
I mean, I'm still selling weed, and actually, and I started. I found a Mexican, like a like a paisa. I guess they don't really call them paisas in Minnesota, but they're like, Mexican nationals. And back then, a lot of them sold multicolored balloons in Minneapolis. So like, if you're from the suburbs and you had one of those plugs, you were getting the shit so cheap that you could, make a decent amount of money. So I actually started like picking up half ounces and ounces of black tar, bringing it into the suburbs. So that, and I was still selling weed, but it got to the point where like my money was going down faster than it was coming in. I get a letter in the mail eventually charging me for this weed that was found at the house, even though I wasn't there. I had had a DUI a few years prior, so they had my fingerprints in the system, and they had like 167 different sets of my prints all over these vacuum sealed bags of weed.
Oh, so they found so when you got the bag, you guys touched it. When
No,
you
no,
guys
no, no,
got the
no,
box,
no. We
when you
got
got the
away with
box.
the stuff in the mail, but we remember I told you I left stuff at the house because I
Yeah.
didn't think the house was gonna get raided. So
Oh,
they found the
man.
stuff at the house that me and my friend had left there, and our fingerprints were on the bags.
So if
And
you would have
also
took
my
the
fake,
stuff with you, you would have been good.
if I would have been all good. And the feds actually were the ones because we found out later my buddy Noah got some stupid weed charge in high school, and that's how the address got flagged, and that's how the whole thing started because of like a petty misdemeanor marijuana ticket, and the address linked up. So that's how it got flagged. The feds were like slightly involved with it, but they dropped it pretty quick because it was like, you know, we got away with the shit that was in the mail, but there's like 5 pounds. So like they're not worried about that shit. So, but damn well the state picked that shit up.
Yeah.
So anyways, months go by, I get the notice in court, and basically they offer me 5 years probation. To this day, I don't know if I should have fought the case or not, but um I was just like happy to not go to jail at the time, so I just took the first offer they gave me, 5 years probation. So
Not knowing it's a setup, right? Not
not
knowing
knowing
like,
not knowing it's a setup, and if I really put some pressure on them, I could have at least got a better deal probably because I wasn't even there. You know what I mean? I wasn't
yeah.
even at the freaking house, but there was other things going on, and my co-defendant, he he made some little statements that really I don't I take that back. I honestly don't remember. It was nothing that like was like crazy. It was just like they basically just knew I was there. My Facebook was logged in, et cetera, et cetera. So anyways,
Yeah, they had.
years go on. I'm on probation. My drug addiction, I have points where I quit. I have points where I start. I've gone to treatment multiple times at this point.
Catching
Um,
dirties, right, for probation and all that.
Catching dirties, and my probation officer was former military, and typically Hennepin County probation is pretty lax, but I had like the one bad apple probation officer that was like hated criminals, Republican, all that type of shit. Not hating on Republicans, but just you know what I'm talking about, just military. So she had it out for me. I got several violations. My first violation, I was on methadone. Did 45. She sentenced. Okay, so I go to Hennepin County Jail. I'm coming off methadone. Before court, this is like my first jail experience. So they put me in a
Fucking crackling starting again, man.
Oh,
Damn.
man. Damn, dude. I'm sorry, man.
Did you know I just moved back here from Hennepin County, bro?
No way.
Swear to God. I just lived out in Minnesota.
Back to Boston? Oh, you're from Boston, right?
No, I'm from Connecticut. I went out to Minnesota I was a DJ at the strip club.
Yeah.
At the Seville Club.
The Seville, yeah. My homegirl worked there. That's funny.
I lived in Hennepin County, bro.
Yeah, bro.
Right near the airport.
Yeah. So, I mean, anyways. So
you want to go out and come back in real quick?
Yeah. Yep.
All right. My apologies for the crackling, but he's gonna come right back and we'll talk about his experience in Hennepin County. I thought it was a good place to live, but I don't know about going to prison or being in trouble there. So I know the cops. I didn't want to get pulled over out there. I was on my P's and Q's, but I didn't have any problems out there in Minnesota. I don't think it didn't seem like a too dangerous place to me. Downtown, there was a couple of places where there was like homeless people and, it seemed a little sketchy, but that's in every city. It's everywhere you go. But I'm looking forward to hearing the rest of this story. Hopefully it doesn't keep messing up and we can get through this. He's from Minneapolis, Minnesota. I don't know if it's Minneapolis, but he's from Minnesota. The federal conviction rate is around 97%. Yeah, man. Huge decision-making factor. Good interview. Yeah, it really is good, man. I can't wait for him to get back and tell me the rest. I'm like holding on to it like, damn. Yo, and I want to give a shout out to Joey Seifert. Today is the anniversary of his father getting murdered in Chicago. Shout out to him. Rest in peace to his dad, Joey Seifert. Shout out to Seifert, the father that passed away. He was killed by, allegedly, Joey the Clown Lombardo, but I'm pretty sure it was Tony Spilotro. But today is the anniversary of his getting killed, so rest in peace to him. All right, we got Luke back.
Hey, my dad let me use his phone, so I got a better phone now.
All right, cool. So you go to Hennepin County, right?
Yep.
What happens?
So I get to Hennepin County, and my first few days, first of all, I start panicking because I know how bad methadone withdrawal is, and this and that. But I get into the tanks, and I was a non-violent offender at this time, so they just put me in these basic tanks, and like no one's pressing me, no fights, no crazy shit. I'm like, damn, this ain't that bad, And so, anyways, I go to court, and they move you from like bullpen to bullpen to holding tank on your way to court. And then I start getting mixed in with everyone. So I start, there's a lot of BDs, GDs, Stones, fucking Vice Lords, a lot of Midwest gangs up here. So I start kind of getting into the mix, and I'm seeing people, and I'm sick. I'm getting real sick at this point. But I was so young and like so infatuated and interested in that life that it was almost like an adrenaline rush. And I was like asking people questions, and I was just like, because it just interested me, you know, like
Yeah.
hard to explain, but like it was just very like I was like, okay, this is what's up. Like I'm learning how to move and groove right now. So but anyways, we get to this big tank and it's like the bullpen, they call it. I'm sure they call it that in a lot of county jails. But this is where there's like 70 people. They're all waiting to go to court. Some people are facing a year, some people are facing 5, 10, life, whatever. You're mixed in. It ain't no we're separating violent, non-violent anymore. So then I kind of start seeing like, okay, these are kind of the real people I'm gonna be dealing with if I go upstate, But anyways, my PO calls me in. I'm just like, oh, I'm so sick, just doing the junkie complaining thing. And
Yeah.
I was like, please let me out of here, please. And she's like, absolutely not. She's like, you are a liability if I let you out of here. Like, you're gonna have to like let that methadone kick through you. Anyways, I go to the Hennepin County Workhouse. The Hennepin County Workhouse, state jail, some places call it, work release, 2 years or under, you go to the Hennepin County Workhouse, violent assaults, DUIs, drugs, but mainly just DUIs, drugs, and like just kind of, maybe it's a serious charge, but the judge gave him like, okay, this is your first charge. I'm going to give you a chance type thing.
Yeah.
So anyways, day 10, the withdrawals are getting worse and worse because methadone isn't like heroin where like day 3, day 4 is the worst day. Like the 2-week point is like the worst point because there's such long withdrawals. So people are yelling at me because the workhouse is like an old school jail. It's like got green bars, and it was a federal prison in the 1930s, but they converted it to a workhouse. But people are screaming across the tiers, playing chess, and I'm fucking like, oh, with my withdrawals. People are telling me to shut the F up, pussy, and get the like junkie, da 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 da, and I'm just feeling like about this big at that point.
Are you working at this point? Like working?
No,
Or in the
no.
jail, or you just sitting in the
No, I'm
cell?
too sick. I'm too sick. They had to put me in medical segregation for 7 days because the COs were just sick of me whining and fucking. I mean, bro, it was bad though. Like I didn't sleep for like 3 weeks straight. I mean, I slept maybe 20 minutes here, 20 minutes there, but I was like felt like I was losing my mind. So, anyways, I go to the workhouse. I see a couple fights here and there. I get out. I just kind of think, yeah, this is what prison and jail is like. It ain't no big deal. And so, anyways, life goes on. I'm sober. I'm back and forth. The violations keep coming. First time they give you 45, next time they give you 90 days. But it's 2/3 of Minnesota. So 90 do 60, 45 do 30. And then it's 90, then it's 120. And then on my fourth, 90 do 120. So I had 3 violations at the time, right? And this is like 4 years later. The weed selling was going back and forth, but it wasn't like it was. And I started messing around with the dark web. I don't know if you know anything about that, but basically what I was doing, I tried a bunch of different things. Like I tried buying coke on there and selling that. And you can get really good coke and decent prices, but like, you're doubling your money at the best. I tried a lot of different things and it was like, you make okay money. But the one thing I found that I could make the most money off of was Xanax bars because you can get, I found a vendor. This is back in the days of Dream Market. The dark web is not like it used to. It's not as good as it once was, but I would get these pressed bars like S903 Hulks, and they were made with a substance called fluelprazolam. Now, Xanax is just alprazolam. It's not fluelprazolam. So this is like a research chemical benzo that's very similar to Xanax. Yep, there's a picture. That's what the packages I got came in that looked like.
Wow. You weren't worried that the cops are going to intercept any of these packages?
Not really because first of all, Xanax, drug dogs can't detect Xanax. So I knew I was I knew Xanax would be one of the more safer substances to do. So that became my niche. That became what I did. At one point I had like pure fluelprazolam powder. I had dyes. I had a pill press, and I was really
Wow.
doing my thing. Luckily they didn't catch me with that. But so anyways, I had like a bunch of different rotations of places I would get my shit sent to. I mean, this is over like a year and a half, 2 year period. Businesses, people that I knew who had businesses, random houses. And I knew because of the weed bust, you know, anyone with a criminal background, no mama's way, you know, like you that. So I'd have to get people. Sometimes I would do it and people didn't know I was sending it to their house. I had to do that. I met a fat chick on Tinder that I like fucked and I really had sex with, and I didn't really want to, but I did it to get shit sent to her house.
Bro,
I swear to God, bro, you can't make that shit up, bro.
that's terrible, man.
And
Oh man.
yeah, it ended badly, bro. Like when the last time she caught me and she like was like screaming, threatening to call the police, and I think she might. Honestly, I think she did, and that could be part of why I became under investigation. So, anyways, similar to the last time, similar to the last time. I had a package coming, and what I would do when these packages would come is I would let them deliver it, and I would kind of like do counter surveillance. Like I would like sit in the neighborhood and kind of just watch, and like maybe like do blocks around the neighborhood and kind of like watch to see what was going on. And I had a package set up, and I went like 4 blocks down the street and I saw like 2 black SUVs, and I saw a Hennepin County sheriff 4 blocks down the street from this shit. And I was like, ooh,
And they're waiting for you.
they're waiting for me.
Yeah.
So
How much Xanax were you buying at one time and how much were you paying?
that time it was like 5,000. Sometimes I was getting I usually would pick up 5,000 at a time. I was paying like 80 cents a bar, 70 cents a bar. And I mean these because there's different kinds of pressed bars. Certain ones are just like obviously pressed. They look like shit. They have fentanyl in them. But like this vendor I had was real legit. And like you put it side by a bar, like it had the same snap, the gloss, the taste, everything. So like you could sell these as real bars. Anyway, so yeah, I was paying 70 cents, which at that when you're buying that much, that's a high price, but they were so good quality that it was worth it. Because I wanted to get ones that could pass as real bars.
And how much are you selling a bar for? You're buying it for 70
Well,
cents.
when I got to that point, a lot of it I was just having other people sell it for me. Like
Yeah.
I would give it to them for like $2 a bar, $3 a bar, and I'd give them like 500 at a time. So I was having a lot of people sell for me. But then I had just like people that I had known for a while where I would just sell them for like 5 a bar. Or like sometimes like in the beginning, I was really milking it though. Like I was just getting like 500 to 1,000 at a time, and I was selling them like $8 a piece, $10 a piece, all the way up, you know?
Did
Um,
you leave a paper trail to buy in these with like a credit card and all that for the
um,
detectives?
No, what I would do was I would go to like a Bitcoin ATM. I would just get like I would load money on like like a MoneyGram card or like a prepaid card. And then I'd go to a Bitcoin ATM and then I'd just buy however much Bitcoin I needed, put it into a wallet. And I would like, you can do this thing that's called, what's the word for it? They call it washing your coins, where basically what it does is it just sends the coins to like 500 different addresses, and it just goes bing, 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 and then comes back to you. So it kind of like gets rid of the paper trail. Nowadays on the dark web, they have something called Monero, which is like a privacy version of Bitcoin, which you don't even need to do any of that shit. It's like completely untraceable.
Yep.
But Bitcoin, if you do it the right way, is untraceable too. So anyways, I would do that. Sometimes I would just buy it on Coinbase with my own credit card, or not Coinbase. Coinbase wasn't even around back then. Sometimes I would use whatever. I'd buy it from a main site, and then I would just convert it to another coin, and then by the time
It
you've
doesn't
converted
it
it,
doesn't even have an attachment to you, right?
yeah, exactly,
It's just there. It's just a
right,
digital
right.
currency.
Yeah, like Bitcoin seriously is like the best. tool for money laundering. Like, and I'm sure criminal organizations are all over Bitcoin. Like, and I know the cartel sells on the dark web. Like they literally do. But anyways, so obviously I see this happen. I know that they're on to me in some form or fashion. So I go to my house at the time. I grab all my shit and I go to my mom's house, which my mom's house, I've never had, I've never legally lived there. She has a different last name than me. There's no reason they should have known where it was. It was just compact in the city. So I take all my shit and I go there. I had about 9,000 Xanax bars. I had, some money. I didn't have that much money. I had like $10,000, maybe like $11,000, something like that. And I was, and another thing too, like I never had a gun. I never had even a knife. Like I never needed it. I sold to college kids from the suburbs, people that had money, people who were not threats. I told this story on Chad's story. I did have an issue later on where I dealt with someone from the city. There's a lot of natives in Minnesota. There's a lot of native gangs. Started dealing with this native kid. Basically what happened was I got robbed by like 7 people. They broke my femur. And I had to relearn how to walk and shit over 1 pound of weed for $3,500. And 6 people robbed me. So I was like kind of giving him shit. I'm like, bro, you broke my femur for 3,500 divided by 6. That's like $500, man. Like for real, like come on, man.
And how'd they break your femur? Just stomping on your leg?
Bro, honestly, like it was just one of those situations where I tried to run. I got fucking mollywopped. I ended up on the ground. I was just getting stomped, and I don't really remember, like, because my adrenaline was going so much. And then I started running, and as I was running, dude, like, cold cocked me. And like, I think what happened was like my leg twisted at a weird angle. Like I planted my foot and there was like a pothole or something. And like I twisted it because it was a spiral fracture. Ooh. Anyways, but I should have sued him because it was on his parents' property. And I learned later I could have sued for the homeowner's insurance. But the problem with that was my dad, sold a lot of weed back then. And we had like 50 at the house. So I wasn't trying to bring that shit up. And, I was embarrassed because anyways, that's a whole nother story with me and my dad and our weed selling. But anyways, so the thing with the Zans happened. I bring everything to my mom's house and she kind of knew what was going on, but she didn't know to the extent. And I told her, hey, I need to put some money in your ceiling. I didn't tell her about the bars, obviously, but I hid them in a place. But I also, at another location, I had pure alprazolam powder. I had a pill press. I had blotters because I was doing also where I would put the flu alprazolam on blotter paper like acid, and I would put like 2 bars worth of Xanax on one of those, and I'd sell them for $1 a piece. So if people just wanted a better bang for their buck, I'd be like, hey, and because with that stuff, I was getting it for like 5 cents a milligram for the powder. So I was making insane profits on that shit too. Anyways, that's neither here nor there. But I bring the stuff to my mom's house and I'm like just paranoid. Like, I'm still doing dope every day. And by this point, I've gotten into speedballs, which is heroin and cocaine mixed together. So I'm doing speedballs. I'm paranoid as fuck.
Every car that you hear their brakes, you're like, what?
Dude. It's worse than smoking crack, and I had my bouts with that too. But I was, just basically locked myself in my mom's basement doing speedballs for 3 days. And then my mom's house gets kicked in. I don't know. Still to this day, I don't know how they found that out.
So they found everything you had, right?
They didn't find the flu alprazolam powder in the pill press, luckily. But at that time, I had like, 9,000 something Xanax bars on me. So I was shitting my pants. And
I actually found out that like the feds, like the I forget what district it is, but whatever the Midwest district of the feds, like some kind of, oh yeah, what was it? The Bureau of the Criminal Bureau of Apprehension, or I don't know, like it's like the BP, the Bureau of the BCA, the Bureau of Criminal Apprehension, was like looking after me, which is like some kind of federal thing in Minnesota.
So they were looking for you, and you didn't even know it for a while, right?
No, they had been investigating me for like 9 months, and an unknown person they got busted with my Xanax bars. I don't know who it was but I mean, I got a pretty good idea. But so anyways, I go to Sherburne County. They send me to Sherburne County because that's the federal holding facility in Minnesota. And like a week and a half later, like they say, pack it up. You're like, pack it up, Gerald. So I think I'm going home. I'm like, sweet, let's do it.
Yeah.
So they're taking me out. I got my bedroll. I'm all happy and shit. I'm like, hell yeah, they ain't got shit on me. And then all of a sudden he brings me over to the transfer section. I'm like, transfer? He's like, yeah, you got a warrant out of Hennepin County. I'm like, oh. So they dropped it and the state picked it up. I'm like, oh, great. I'm like, what are the charges? And he said first degree possession and first degree sales, which is the worst, like first degree murder. So you can do anywhere up to 30 years on that. So, and I was on probation at the time too for the weed still. So,
man, so you're like, I'm done.
Yeah,
I'm
done. But there in Minnesota there is boot camp. So nonviolent crime, after 18 months, you have to have, like, I forget the exact rule. You have to have done 18 months, and there has to be like less than a certain amount of time left on your sentence. But basically, you can get out really early. But we'll get into that. So, anyways, I'm sitting in Hennepin County Jail, and I had some domestic against one of my girlfriends previous to this. I know people are going to probably think, oh, you're a piece of shit, domestic. Well, you can get a domestic just for a verbal argument. If you incite fear in someone, and Minnesota is very strict on domestic. So like it literally was from a verbal argument from the neighbors calling the cops. But so because I had that domestic, which even though it wasn't violent, it was just verbal, it's still considered a violent crime. So they put me, and plus my charges were more serious this time. So they put me in quad 13. 50% of the people in there had a body. Most people in there were looking at like 5 to 10 years minimum. And I was one of the only white people in the pod. So from all my experiences, oh yeah, because I always hear people say Minnesota, like, the brothers from Chicago always be like, man, Minnesota prisons be sweet. They be swisher sweet. That's what they always say. And because I mean, comparatively, they are probably a lot more soft than a lot of other states. But anyways, I'm looking around, I'm like, damn, so this ain't like, nonviolent pods, workhouse, and it was a whole different demeanor, like, because I'm a pretty friendly dude and stuff like that, but like I realized like I was a little too friendly, like
yeah,
people who've been locked up and shit like that shit's like not a good look, to be just like being nice and shit all the time like
yeah,
that,
bouncing around the
hey, what's up, man?
People don't like that shit, man. They don't.
And yeah, bro. So like it was I had to adjust just even in that pod, man. So basically, but even in the county jail, still I'm not seeing, there's maybe a fight every 2 weeks, if that. Like I'm still not seeing a lot of fights. And I never had to fight in the county. I never had to fight at all in the workhouse, the county, nothing. And so anyways, time goes on. Their first offer, what was it again? I think their first offer was like, oh yeah, it was 119 months for the first offer.
And that's that's like 11 years, bro. That's like more than that.
No, I think that's like a little under 10.
But
Like
70 months is about 9 years, 7 years.
70, no, 70
months.
70 months is like 6 years.
Is it?
That's under 6 years. Yeah, because 60 months is 5 years.
Oh, 90 months. 90 months.
Yeah. So they offered me 119 months. My heroin dealer was in there too, by the way. They offered him 109. He got caught with 60 grams of heroin. They offered him 119 months as well. I don't know why 119 seems to be the number. He had a public defender, took it to trial. Or no. This is what happened. They offered him 48 months. He took it to trial with a public defender, lost. Then they hit him with 119 months.
Wow.
So if anyone's watching this show, if you ever get jammed up, God forbid, you got a public defender and your case is like kind of gray area and it's like you're looking somewhat guilty, just maybe play full court with them a little bit and say you're going to take it to trial, but take a freaking plea.
You gotta stretch them out till the last.
Right.
Till they're like, that's it. We're going to trial. That's it.
Yeah. You don't want to take the first deal ever.
No.
But
I've seen people take the first deal, man.
That's what I did.
They could have. You took the first deal?
No, on the weed one.
Oh yeah. Just to get out of it. You're like, I want to get out of this. I don't want this trouble. You didn't want to sit around. And a lot of people do that. Some people do it to get out of jail. You don't want to be sitting in there, so I'll take probation. And then they set themselves up. They get dirty urines, and it goes right to the same bullshit.
Right. So, couple more. I'm in Hennepin County for I was fighting my case for 7 months, 8 months, and eventually we come to an agreement of 60 months because, like I said, I mean, that's a lot of Xanax bars, man. And they wanted to give me a lot more, but I had a really good lawyer. And basically how I got them to kind of understand was I basically had proof that what I paid for was only $3,600. So they're like, how are you going to send this kid to prison? He's 24 years old. How are you going to send him to prison for 10 years for something he paid less than $4,000 for? That's kind of crazy. And especially because I had no felony points because, a lot of it is dictated by how many felony points. They have a graph when you're in county jail. It'll show you the charge, the amount of time, and then the felony points. And then it'll show you so someone with no felony points just might get probation, but you got 10 felony points, you might get 7 years.
Yeah, if you have priors, it all matters. All of that stuff.
Yeah.
If you have prior arrests, if you were on probation, all that stuff will.
Right. And plus, I knew about, even though I was taking 60 months, my lawyer was telling me about boot camp. And so basically with boot camp, I'd be able to get out in less than 2 years.
Yeah, you do the 18 months and you only do the boot camp and you get out.
And you only do 2/3 of your time in Minnesota anyways. So 60 months is only 40 months.
And the probation and the lawyer, they try to coax you into taking this. Don't worry about it. You could just, you'll be out in 2 years. Take the 60 months. Right.
But remember, I told you about my broken femur. I would later find out that would disqualify me for this fucking bullshit.
Really?
Yep.
Why? Because they gotta abuse you more.
Because in boot camp, bro, you're waking up in the morning running all day. It's PT all day, every day. It's boot camp, So you if you have any kind of health issues, you're a liability to them, basically.
Disability, any kind of disability, asthma. If you have your leg fucked up.
But so anyways, I'm talking to people in the county jail and I'm kind of, how you talk, you ask people who've been there, what it's like, what prison you think they're going to send me to, et cetera, et cetera. And everyone was saying oh shit, you're going to go to Moose Lake, Faribault, or Lionel Lakes. And the two I mentioned, Moose Lake and Lionel Lakes. Well, Lionel Lakes is a sex offender place, but Moose Lake is just a minimum security. And Stillwater, Faribault is a medium. So anyways, I go to reception, I go to St. Cloud, blah, blah, blah. And you're pretty much locked down 23-1 at reception. It's the oldest jail in Minnesota. It looks like a castle. When I was pulling up to that shit, I was I'm not going to lie, bro. I was intimidated, bro. This shit was huge, bro. a huge castle on a hill with these like just intense looking guard towers, and it's all built out of granite because they call St. Cloud Granite City. There's a big granite thing there. Anyways, the prisoners built it. It was the first Minnesota prison. It was completely built by the prisoners, all made out of granite. Looked like a castle, intimidating as hell. I get there, and it's the old school bars, just like the workhouse, but it's 23-1. They literally like bring a phone on a cart to your cell sometimes, like to use a phone call. But you get out for an hour a day to shower and just make and do rec, and then you can sometimes make phone calls. But like when they don't bring you out for your hour, sometimes they'll bring a cart with a phone. Anyways, I end up staying. I was in, so that's E block. That's that's E house, I should say. That's where you first are. Then I was sent to another block for like a couple more weeks where you had more freedom. You could get a job. Sometimes people with shorter sentences will just stay at the reception center. But anyways, oh shit.
Yeah.
Oh, that's St. Cloud.
Yeah. It's the prison.
Yep.
I got a picture of the inside too.
Yep. Yeah, bro. It's like a castle, bro. It was built, I think, in like the 1900s, like early.
They have ones like that out here in Connecticut, man. Summers.
Yep. They got the big. Yeah, it's just like it's like San Quentin or like any kind of old prison that you could imagine, you know.
Yeah, that's what it looks like in Summers. Looks the same.
Yeah, man, and it sucked though because like freaking like there's just books with the pages ripped out. Like there's no books. Like you don't get your TV yet, so there's nothing to do. Like it was worse than county time. Like
you're like reading a book and like 15 pages are ripped out. Fucking story's gone.
It pissed me off because everyone was telling me, bro, once you get to prison, it's gonna get so much better. And then I get to St. Cloud, and this shit's worse than county jail. But eventually, and still, by the way, I have not gotten into a fight yet. I did. Actually, I did. I take that back. I got into a fight with this short little native kid because I was still on crutches when I got there. And
your leg was fucked up when you went to jail?
Yeah.
Like when you first got arrested,
yeah.
You were still...
Yeah, my leg was still fucked up. But it was on when I first got to reception. I was still kind of wearing a crutch. I could walk a little better at that time, but I kind of wore the crutch.
You're like, I need these crutches fucked up.
Right.
Did they make you sign a paper saying you can't assault anyone with the crutches?
Yep. And a lot of times they tried to freaking they tried to like, what else did they try to get me to use instead of crutches? I feel like they tried to get I can't remember. This is like 2013.
They say Summers is haunted. The prison where I was at, they say it's
really?
Haunted. They say you see inmates walking through the walls at night, man. You'll see ghosts of inmates walking right through your wall. It's like crazy.
But yeah, there was a lot of cell warriors in St. Cloud because you got to realize there's a lot of young bucks in there and people, kids that are 18 that just got life, kids from the hood that just senselessly shot someone. They're looking at 30 years, a lot of pent up aggression and stuff like that. And, but still there was no like gang type crazy shit yet. And, so anyways, I got into a fight with this little native kid. But like I said, reception, there's no structure. It's not like anyone's running shit because it's such a transient place. People are in and out.
They're going, they're coming.
They're going.
I'm sure it revolves. Like, so maybe a gang leader will come there, people will crowd around him, he'll start structuring things, boom, he'll get moved. Then the structure's gone. So that's how it goes in county jail.
Right. But the thing is though, is like, so in reception at St. Cloud, like anyone who's got serious time, you're going to just go straight from St. Cloud to another prison. You're not going to stay in St. Cloud for a long time. So like anyone who like leaves the orientation dorm and goes to another dorm, like they ain't got much time to do anyways. So there's not really a lot of like crazy gang leaders and shit, but anyways, I get to Faribault, and Faribault is definitely a different vibe because it's a medium, but it's filled with a lot of people that had done a lot of time, like in Stillwater, had done maybe a 20-piece, 30-piece, and they had been on good behavior. And so they got moved down to a medium, but it's still closed custody. They're still closed custody, but in a medium. So I start seeing like just basically a lot more like intense people, like people that are really about that shit, like no more little boy shit, like. But at the same time, Faribault is a strict prison too. So like typically on your second like fight or third fight, they ship you to Stillwater usually, or Rush City, depending on how old you are. But yeah, so I get there. Fucking, people they could sense that I was from the suburbs. They could sense, okay, so I had a lot of people asking me for shit all the time. And like in county, I was kind of doing it for a while, and then I kind of tightened up and I was like, yo, I ain't gonna do this shit. I ain't gonna be a
You're like,
mark.
bro, give me some coffee, man. Let me get a soup. Let me get a soup.
Hey,
Let me
hey,
get
let me
this.
get a soup, bro. Hey,
Yeah.
bro, let me get that. Let me get that. But it was almost like, I don't know if anyone can relate to this, but it was like once I got to Faribault, it was like all that confidence I built up in county was like diminished.
Gone.
And it was like,
Starting
I was
over.
a new jack again, or what do they call it? A new buck or a new
Yeah.
whatever.
Young buck. Young buck.
Young. I was
A
the young
newbie.
buck.
And green. You were green.
I
You
was
were fresh. Yeah,
green
you're
as
new to
fuck.
it. Yeah.
So, you gotta kind of get in where you fit in. So like I'm hanging out with the white dudes, but I mean, Minnesota isn't a totally racially segregated state. It depends on what place you're in, but in Faribault, it's really not. So I'm hanging out with people of pretty much all races, but I'm sticking with kind of, white kids, white drug dealers, white junkies, kind of people who are like, you know, similar to me. I mean, that's right. That's kind of who we gravitate towards. And
I would try to gravitate towards the people who had more wisdom, people who were
right,
like more like not involved with the bullshit, someone that would really guide
right,
me through where I had to go. I would try fresh fish. Jose got it right. You were fresh fish on the yard.
right. No, and that's not to say like I didn't hang out with scumbags either, because like, yeah, I was a drug addict, but I wasn't a scumbag. So like I
There's
was
like that group, there's a group of scumbags in there too, right? They're
yeah,
all
and then
hanging out
then
together and
there's the
shit.
junkies who are like more the homeless junkies that are like scumbags that like they got no one on the streets because they've been pieces of shit and they fucked everyone over their whole life. So they got
Yeah.
no one riding with them.
Yep.
And it's sad, man, because you see a lot of people that and then there's genuinely some people who just like don't have anyone because they're from a small family or they're from out of state or whatever the case may be. So I would be generous if I felt like they genuinely needed it and they weren't trying to just press me and fucking see what they could get out of me. Because a lot of times that's what it was. People were trying to press me to see what they could get. And then once I gave them one thing, they just kept coming back and coming back, and
And then when you say no, it's a problem. And that's where
yup,
the problems start.
right. And there was this kid that I was in the county with that got a murder charge. He was a young kid from North Minneapolis. He was from a, Midwest gang. I'm not going to say what gang, but we were cool in the county or whatever. So when I met up with him back at Faribault, I started hooking him up with shit.
Yeah.
And I didn't tell this part on Chad's story, but I find out that homeboy's talking shit about me, about how this white boy is paying him and shit. Basically, like he's making it out to be that he's extorting me, but
Is he
I
there
was just
before you or after you?
he was there before me. I was in county with him. He got
Yeah.
shipped before I got shipped.
So
So,
he's there talking
we
to
had a
these
rapport.
people.
I had a rapport with him, but he's acting brand new once we get to prison, right? He's trying to act like he's this and that. And he wasn't demanding. I was just giving him stuff. Like, I was just like, hey, here you go. But he was lying and telling people he was extorting me. So when that happened, I cut it off. And he's like started talking shit, you pussy ass white boy, motherfucker, da 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 da, and like just completely changed everything. And basically, I was just like, I felt like I had to fight, so I fight the kid, and I'm not gonna lie, bro, I did not come out good on that fight, but I at least fought, and I was just like, whatever, dude.
They
So
know
that
you're not going to back down, though. They know you're going to fight.
right. So, anyways, as I'm there for longer, I start kind of hanging out with like you know, because like I said, I kind of idolized criminals and I still thought it was cool. And all that immature ass little boy shit, you know, like I glorified it in my own mind. So I end up selling up with a dude who has a little more rank in there, who's a white dude, da 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 da. Well, he's got this Suboxone thing going in there because, you know, Suboxones are real easy to get in because they're thin little strips. And basically, like, I kind of looked up to this dude. Like, he like was like kind of teaching me how to do my time. And like, I looked up to him in a lot of ways, you know? So he basically will like one day ask me if I wanted to start, hey man, can you start holding my Suboxone here and there? Just cause like, you know, they're on to me and shit like that a little bit. So I ended up moving cells, but you know, cause he wanted to have this thing, cause he wanted me to help him like get rid of them.
So
Like
your cellies with him, but he wants you to move cells so you
but
could be in another cell and
yeah,
hold his shit.
yeah, yeah. And I fucking, and I mean, I think part of me, I like kind of knew like, or thought like, is he fucking just taking advantage of me? But I wanted that acceptance so fucking bad, bro. Like, you know what like I just wanted validation and acceptance. And so anyways, I'm basically his hold down man. You know, I'm holding the shit down, and the day comes where our shit gets flipped and I get caught with like, you know, a pretty, for prison, it was a good amount. It was like 30 Suboxone strips, which
They
is,
caught you with them all?
yep.
Oh, man.
Yep.
Your
And,
heart dropped when they found your hiding spot, huh?
yeah, bro. I was just like, dude, because like, and at this point, like, I didn't want to leave Faribault because like I was thinking, I still thought at this time I was gonna get into boot camp, but not. Or no, I had already found out that I wasn't going to boot camp, so I wanted to stay at Faribault. I didn't want to get in any trouble and go to Stillwater because I knew what time it was at Stillwater. So, anyways, they put me in the hole, obviously. And fucking I get sent to Stillwater. And Stillwater, to say that it is intimidating was an understatement. Like, because once I knew I was going to Stillwater, I started asking people about shit, obviously, you know, because I want to know what I'm getting myself into. I'm hearing crazy stories that the guards are raping dudes. Fucking I hear there's booty bandits. I hear fucking there's dudes doing shit in there. I just hear, you know, people like it's not like it's going on a lot, but just the fact that it happens was crazy to me. And the natives run it. There's two native gangs in Minnesota. There's two major ones at least. There's Native Styles and Native Mob. And so the natives be running shit in Stillwater because it ain't like Faribault where people are trying to be on their best behavior and, you know, not get into trouble. Like people in Stillwater, like, I mean, the only place you can go from there is Oak Park Heights, and that's like close custody, underground, maximum. And for like crazy people too.
I got a picture of Stillwater. I'm gonna show you guys.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, there's the yard. There's where we go out for yard with the baseball field.
Yeah, it looks pretty crazy, man.
The one thing I will say about Stillwater that I did like is like 90% of the jail are single cells. So that's a plus. That is a plus. You got your own room. You got a small little room. There is a part of the jail that is like you got a bunkie and shit, but you got single cells. I had my TV, you know, and I forgot to tell you too. Yep.
This is a cell block inside Stillwater.
Yep. But when that whole raid happened and shit, they did find some money on me, but I had a lot of money in Bitcoin. I had money orders and I had shit like that at my house, and I had money in my safe at my other house. So I had plenty of money, and plus my family would send me, like, I didn't even really need to dip into that stuff too much because my family was sending me money anyways. But basically, like, right when I get out of orientation, like, I go and sit with the white people for chow, and they already knew I was coming. And I was like, what? Like, so somehow they like know who's coming. Like, and that shit didn't happen at Faribault. Like, they weren't even up on game. They're like, all right, we know your paperwork's good, so you don't even got to worry about that. Da 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 da. And you know, you can either run with us, you can be independent, but we're not going to have your back if you're independent. And I just had it in my mind at that time. I was like, I don't want to be joining any gangs. I don't want to be putting in work for people and shit like that. I kid you not. Like a couple days after I said that, word must have got out or something. Fucking the natives start running up to me like with lists. Like, no bullshit, bro. Like,
Because they're like, they're not going to protect him. We're just going to do whatever we want.
right. And bro, some of these native homeboys, bro, they're like tree trunks, bro. They're huge.
I know, bro. I was just in Minnesota.
They don't
I seen them, dude. Shout out to the natives out there, man.
Shout out to my Southside native homeboys. Southside Minneapolis. Southside, we outside. No, I got a lot of love for the native homies, man. But their regard for life is thin and slim to none. I mean, they just don't.
For a white boy? For a white boy that killed their ancestors? No, man.
Right. So they even justify it further in their heads, you know? And come to find out, they were doing this to tons of fucking white people. And people were getting it worse than I was, and I had no idea about this shit. But anyways, so dude comes to me with the list. So I go back to the whites and I'm like, listen, you know, at this point I had like 18 months left. I'm like, listen, like, I want to rock with you guys. I'm down to do, you know, if I got to put in some work here and there, I'm down. I'm not trying to stab anyone, bro, and catch any more time, because that's just, because I'd heard a lot about that. Like, they'll ask you to, like, sometimes, not all the time, but sometimes, you know, stab some people. Fighting is one thing. Like, you know, I'm not some super tough dude. I'm not a complete bitch either. I can, you know, I can defend myself decently. But as far as that level of violence, like, not even just the time, like, I'm just going to keep it a buck. Like, I was just scared of that level of violence. Like, you know, I'd never stabbed anyone. I'd never done any of that shit. So I went to the dude. I'm like, hey, I'm going to just roll with you guys. Da, 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 da. And I'm like, if I got to do it, I got to do. I got to do what I got to do. So that goes on for a little bit. You know, I like had to beat up some child molester with another dude. That was like some work I had to put in. And
so wait, after once you go back to the white dudes, do the natives leave you alone?
Yep.
And they're like, they just cut it
because
off.
Because then that, like, you know what I mean? Because that could start a riot, you know? I mean, and the white dudes in Minnesota, it's not like there's no Aryan Brotherhood. There's PMBs, Prison Motorcycle Brotherhood. A lot of people like practice Asatru, which is a Nordic religion. There is some other like skinhead Aryan gangs, like little pockets of it, but they're mainly just prison gangs. It's not like the Aryan Brotherhood, where there's like a presence in and outside of the prisons for the whites, at least. The white, there's not that much organization really. So anyways, I'm rolling with them, and the dude who, you know, that head, he ended up leaving, and a new dude came who was like, this dude was a tweaker. He was a fucking drug addict. He was a hothead, a loose cannon, whatever you want to call it. So the other dude was he was like an OG. He was like a ex-Hells Angel biker dude. Or I don't know if he's an ex-Hells Angel, but I know he rocked with the Hells Angels, and he was a PMB. But this dude was like younger, in his 30s, and he was like just a hothead. He was always on meth. He was just whatever. So he basically says, listen, bro, he's like, you're going to have to put in some knife work to this, da, 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 da. There's a specific situation that needed to be handled. And I basically was like, dude, like, what do I have to pay you to not do this? So I fucking sent him, my family sent him a Western Union for $2,500.
What?
And he basically just left me alone. But that lasted for a while, and then that dude ended up leaving. Then another dude And another dude had no idea how much I had wired that dude. But the other dude basically started extorting me to not have to put in knife work for $60 a week in commissary. So I did that for the rest of my bid just to not have to put in knife work. And I ended up paroling.
Wow.
I ended up paroling early 2015. And yeah, I'm not proud of it, man. Like it was it made me feel like a bitch, for lack of a
You're
better.
like, I just want to get the fuck out of here,
But I
whatever I
wanted to
gotta
get
do, and I
I
don't want
want
to
but
kill
here's
nobody, right?
right, exactly. And the deal with me is, man, is like at the end of the day, as much as I thought it was cool and stuff like that, I still really didn't give a fuck about anyone's opinion deep down. And I just wanted to make it home, like, cause like I knew that like I have a life outside of this shit. Some people that like they ain't got no one, they ain't got nothing, they ain't got any social skills, they ain't got any working skills. So
Like me, if they
prisons
would
easy.
have did that to me, I don't have money to pay them, so I wouldn't
Right,
do it. I'm not going to do it because I don't have the money. Number one,
right,
and number two, because it's going to put a big target on me, man. If I give them
right,
even a piece of my fucking state food off my tray, they're not getting it.
right,
I'll throw it in the garbage before someone
right,
gets my shit. And
bro.
that's just the way I was in jail, man.
It's crazy, bro. And like, part of it was like, for lack of a better word, maybe my white privilege. I was like, oh, I'll just pay these fucking poor ass motherfuckers
I
off.
I
Like
was in prison with people just
I
like that,
I
man.
I almost like to make myself feel better about it. I developed an arrogance that they're beneath me. I'm paying them to do that shit. Basically, that's kind of how I justified it in my mind.
Yeah, you're like,
But
I'm paying them and they got to do the work themselves. And I'm just
right,
going to sit back and watch it all happen.
but
Fuck it.
at the end of the day, though, bro, I was a mark, straight up. Like
Yeah.
there ain't no there ain't no ifs, ands, or buts about it, bro. And there's a lot of people that had less smarts than me that had it a lot worse. Because like I had dealt with street people just selling drugs and shit like that. It was just when it came to like extreme violence and extreme pressure that's kind of where it hit the difference when I hit Stillwater. And like, you know, the moral of the story is like, just because you go to county jail or you go to some little correctional facility and it wasn't a tough time, that doesn't mean if you go back the second time, you ain't going to go to somewhere serious, bro, because there's a lot of different levels to this jail shit, like, and a lot of different levels of seriousness. It depends on your state, depends on your charge, depends on a lot of different things. But don't think it's going to be sweet just because you went to some county jail and you didn't get into a fight, because you know that's just not the reality.
Got to tell these guys like I did. Ain't no white boy day. White boy day. This motherfucker think that it's white boy day. Not over here, bro. It ain't gonna be white boy day over here. Fuck that. You can kill me. I don't have it. I ain't giving it to you. I don't have it. And you
Right,
ain't getting shit. Shout
right.
out to Paul Tanzo, man. But I mean, I've seen other people pay. I was in prison with a kid. He was from somewhere by the coast of Connecticut. He was paying in the
Were you in
dorm.
Connecticut State Prison?
Yeah, I was in Connecticut. I was all over Connecticut. I was in the youth facility until I turned into a grown up. Then I went
Yeah,
to the grown, in and out for years, man. The last time I was there was about 11 years ago, and
yeah,
I don't plan on going back. Yeah.
yeah, man. So after I went to jail, or after I was in prison, I got out and my addiction continued, and I ended up actually going to rehab in Florida, and I ended up living there for several years. I met a lot of people from Connecticut. Met a lot of people from Massachusetts, Connecticut, New York, Boston, Philly. So I've heard about Kensington. I've heard about Connecticut's pretty savage. You wouldn't think it
Yeah,
is. I've
man.
heard
Hartford is
Hartford.
crazy.
What is it?
Hartford's, yeah.
Hartford, or what's the
Bridgeport,
big
New
one?
Haven.
Yeah, I've heard a lot of stories about Connecticut, bro. And the East Coast got different vibes, bro, because it's like, those are the oldest states in America. So there's a lot of like families that have been there for years and years. So
Yeah.
shit just moves differently, I feel like, out there, man.
It's totally different. I lived out in Minnesota for 3 months this year, man, and it
That's
was
crazy.
a culture shock to me, bro.
Yeah.
Those sirens on the fucking on the poles
Yeah.
when there's a storm or some shit. I'm like,
Yeah.
what the fuck is going on here, man?
Right.
They got these
Right.
air raid sirens going off. They don't have
Wh-
shit like that where I live.
Where did you live in Minnesota? Minneapolis?
Hennepin County, right in
Oh, okay.
Minnesota, right in
Yeah.
right, DJ St. Joel, freshwater DJs.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
DJ St. Joel.
Minnesota.
Shout out to DJ St. Joel. It just wasn't for me, man. You know.
Yeah. No, I hear you, bro. Honestly, it's a weird state. People are very passive aggressive here, which is weird because I'm not that way at all. But people are like nice to your face,
And
like
fuck
talk
you
shit
behind
behind
your
your
back.
back.
I know. I got
And
all of it, man. All that fucking Minnesota nice shit. Yeah,
it's
I dealt with
bullshit.
all of it. I dealt
It's
with all of it.
Minnesota fake nice, bro. And because like I've always been more of a talkative, like kind of just blunt person. So
Yeah.
like when I moved down to Florida, like I got along with the East Coast dudes, like the Philly dudes, the Boston dudes, the Connecticut. I loved it in Florida. I might move
Yeah.
back there actually. Me and my girl are thinking about it.
I'm gonna go down there soon too, man. I gotta go down there. I got a bunch of people I gotta see. Shout out to all my people down in Florida.
Yes,
But
sir. Yes, sir.
yeah, man, we gotta get on here and do a part 2, man, because I know you got
Yeah.
more stories.
Oh, bro, so when I left after I got out of prison in Florida, dude, Florida, bro. Okay, I'm not gonna obviously say everything, but so there's hoods in the East Coast, there's hoods in the Midwest, there's hoods on the West Coast. They all got their own kind of style of how the hoods
Yeah.
operate. Down in Florida, especially in Miami, the best way I can describe it, it's like third world country hoods. And like, dude, the drug dealers, like if you're white down there in South Florida, like you go to a gas station, they'll just come right up to you and be like, "Hey, you party, bro?" And that means, do you do fentanyl and crack? Like they all sell the Haitians are down there and the Dominicans, they all sell not heroin, fentanyl capsules and crack. And the coke and crack is extremely potent down there and it's everywhere. And when you go on a run down there ain't no Minnesota nice. There ain't no state programs to lay your head in or homeless shelters. You are homeless. Like there's no resources down there. And
But it's not cold like it is in
but it's
Minnesota.
not, exactly. Yeah. Minnesota is freezing. It gets down to like 40 below. But I did really well in Florida, but my downfall, I got some crazy stories. I probably should be in Florida prison. Which if I went to Florida prison, I've heard stories and I'm glad I ain't there. Let's just
Better
say
have
that.
a big bank account if you go to Florida prison.
I don't even think that would matter, bro. They just want what you got, if you know what
Basically, yeah.
I mean.
But yo, everyone, go in the description of this video and click on his YouTube channel.
Yeah.
Help us get him to 1,000 subscribers. He's got 750 right now. Help me help him get to 1,000 so he can get his channel monetized and start getting things going.
Yeah, man. I do. I mean, I started the channel basically. So I started the channel when I was getting high, actually, because I watched this guy named Ryan Leone. He was a prison YouTuber, addict. Rest in peace, Ryan Leone. And I really identified with him with a lot of things because we have a similar story. He was on a higher level than I was. He went to the feds for selling heroin, but I could relate a lot with him. And I would watch him when I was getting high. So when I was getting high, I started filming myself getting high and thinking this footage could be gold someday for a YouTube channel. So I started my YouTube channel. This was like 3 years ago. And I really didn't start taking it seriously till like earlier this year. But now I tell stories about addiction. I give information about how to detox. And, now I'm doing my prison stories, but I kind of wanted to wait till I had more subs to kind of get out all my stories. And I had a level of shame with what I dealt with in prison too. So that's partially why I didn't, tell the stories. But I got prison and street stories. That's mainly what I focus on. But I also give a lot of information on harm reduction and to get people off drugs and detoxing, and hopefully not to go back to prison again, man, because that shit, most likely you ain't built for it. I'm gonna tell you that right now.
Most likely. But yo, you got an awesome story, man, and the people really enjoyed this one. And we're definitely gonna have you on for part 2
That's what's up.
and tell more stories. I appreciate everyone who took the time to watch this show today. Make sure you guys hit the like, subscribe, and notification bell so you could get my videos every time they drop. And don't forget to go in the description and hit the link for his video and his YouTube channel. Make sure you subscribe. And
Luke
yo, we're gonna have
GTV.
you back on, man. You want to give anyone a shout out before we go, man?
I'm gonna just give a shout out to my girlfriend, man. She really saved my life, man. For lack of better words, I've been clean for 6 months now. Um, and she just gave me a reason to live, and she really helps me out with my addiction. She's a recovering addict, not from the same drugs I did. She was a meth addict, but she's been clean for almost 4 years now, and I'm actually tapering off methadone and switching to Suboxone. So she's had to deal with my withdrawals from that, not from using, but from the medication I'm on. And just she's an angel, man. So I really gotta give her the credit where it's due.
I wish you the best, man. I really do. And
Yeah,
you got a lot of good things in the future. So just stay away from the
definitely, bro.
bullshit and you'll be good, bro.
Definitely, bro. Yep.
Definitely, man. So make sure you share the video. If you can, donate to the channel. If you can't, that's okay. And if you hate, fuck you too. Peace out, everybody.